And this is Trekland HQ, and we are live. Hey, hello from my Comic Con Trek Vegas sandwich of time. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live, number 361. Wow. With me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland for some sanity, clarity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek, or a bigger picture anyway. Hey, if you are just joining us for the first time, thank you for your patience today. We are here. We are taking a breather between the big two con events of the year for Star Trek, especially being back to back. And I thought I'd take a breather with you. Maybe a sane person would have taken the week off, but here I am nonetheless. So if you are new to Trekland Tuesdays Live and you found your way here, welcome, welcome. But whether you're a newbie or you're one of our veteran TTLers, make sure you sound off in the chat. We got a great community. And this time of day, we can be global. We'll have folks from all around the world. Can't wait to see everybody bopping in. Hey, look, if you are joining us later on YouTube, please go ahead and leave a comment also as well. Hopefully I'll say something that'll poke you, make you want to say something. But if you are live with us right now, remember that YouTube is the preferred channel these days. YouTube and Twitch, you can see everyone's comments. Facebook, you're only going to see Facebook only. All right? All right. And it is Trekland. I am proud to say Trekland is the home of, yes, the Trekland Treks. You can make a customized away mission to real-life Star Trek location sites here around Greater SoCal, and I mean greater, from halfway up the Mid-Coast, Suncoast Winery, all the way down to, well, yeah, we could technically get down to the other one of the three Picard vineyards from All Good Things is down by Temecula. Anywhere in between, we can pick four and get there in a day. I'll be happy to take you, concierge you, all of that at TreklandTreks.com. And of course, well, we've got our Patreon folk. I want to thank them here as well as we get started. Yeah, it's that time of year. Normally, there is a weekend between the two big cons. This happened about 8 years ago. And we said, I thought we passed a law. I thought we all signed a document that said this would never happen again. And I understand that back when CBS had the license for Trek Vegas with Creation, that they were a licensed show, they insisted on having a week break between Comic-Con and Vegas. And since Comic-Con is by far the biggest show, that meant Vegas had to adjust. Well, that's gone now. They're here. And I understand that next year will likewise be a no rest for the weary in between. So I got home Sunday night from San Diego, down the road, sure, but still. Yesterday, today, and then tomorrow I will be off on the road to the Rio. I always want to sing, off on the road to the Rio. Yeah. Woo! So as I predicted, as we said, as we called out, there was a ton of news coming out of San Diego, starting off with. And again, if you're with us today, sound off, let everybody know where you're coming from in the chat. How's the weather? How's the trek where you are? How things are going? Because this is kind of the peak season of Trek news and info. And, legendary Hall H. Here's a personal take on all this, gang. The last time I was in Hall H was when JJ rolled out Zach Quinto and Leonard Nimoy to announce them for Star Trek 09. That was 2007. That's when we still had a functional StarTrek.com old school, and we were all there covering it, up in the press bullpen, yada, yada. And a couple of times I kind of cheated and sneaked in with Robbie McNeil during the days of Chuck when he was the producing director, overseeing the other directors and directing some himself. Chuck was always my guilty pleasure. So many Trek people worked on Chuck in all different departments. Dan Curry, Dave Trotty, first AD, and Mary Howard and Brad Jacobian. But Not since then. It's not worth putting up with the mess. A lot of the fans I know, they've refined it. You used to have to camp out overnight, which was insane. They don't clear the hall. So if the show, if the franchise you want to see is not until 4 in the afternoon, you've still got to get in the room, and you eventually make your way down closer. Was the old school way. Now they have a whole thing with getting wrists in advance and a time thing, and it's made it a little saner, but it's still crazy to get into Hall H. And I didn't have the time to kill to mess with it. Even when I wasn't at my busiest, I just couldn't see setting aside 4, 5, 6 hours for that on Friday night and Saturday morning. So this year, first time in a long time, I actually worked the convention. I actually worked Comic-Con, and not just for myself. So because of various circumstances, nobody from the Trek movie team was able to attend in person. There's plenty you can do remotely, but actually being there on the ground and maybe taking some shots. So Tony over at Trek Movie asked if I would sit in, record the shows, and take some pictures. Didn't have to file anything. And I did. So that was, after 15 or something years, I got caught up with the Hall H madness, and I even videoed a little bit, sent a live Instagram out from us waiting in line with some of the people who were not going to be on the stage, but were in attendance. And of course, there were 4 features. I know by now you've seen the news that came out, and we had the 2 knowns, right? We had the Strange New Worlds. We had the Lower Decks kind of opening salvo of Last Hurrah. And then we had a kind of a first sound off at the newbies coming down the pike. No pun intended. Well, I always intend that pun. Section 31, which so many people have had questions about, and so many people are ready to either dislike it or they're scared that they won't be able to like it because the whole Section 31 goes against Gene's principles thing. That and Starfleet Academy, which people have been cautiously interested in, hopeful for. I am so much more than the 80s and 90s versions that were floating around, because I think they'll be relevant and with it and still Star Trek. And we've seen the Holly Hunter, Paul Giamatti, and then all the cast of the young cadets coming out, many of whom were there. If you haven't seen the trailer of all of them on a Zoom call when they actually tell them, it's the live reaction when they got the part, which was a little unorthodox, but they did it anyway. One questioner asked, how'd you ever get away with that with their agents? And they said, we didn't tell them. Of course, they'd have the right of refusal if something went badly or embarrassingly. They would do an after trim. But up front, they kept it honest, and it was really endearing. Each of these 4 flavors of the buffet took up an hour-and-a-half panel. The weird moment, and this made as much sense, was there was a 5th story coming out that none of us were ready for. And sitting in the room, the moment when, and they're being meta and sarcastic about panelese, when the Lower Decks bunch troops off, and Justin Simeon, who's behind some of the shows that are out right now. Dear White People is one of them. It's a hit right now, sitcom, modern comedy. He was the MC. Interesting choice. Okay, I get it. But the reason he was actually there the whole time moderating was so goofily awkward that we all thought it was a prank. Was the news you saw eventually, was that he and Tawny have a development deal for a comedy, the first live action Star Trek comedy that is in the works, but is still in baby steps. They have it roughed out. It's going to be a resort on Risa. It's Federation Outsiders. So it's Starfleet, it's Star Trek Federation, but it's not a fleet ship. It's a comedy. It's a workplace comedy. It's an office, Parks and Recreation style comedy. And Tawny's there, both of them. But I implicitly trust this because I think she's amazing. All the things she's done. And I say that for all the things she's done. And then I watched the way she almost single-handedly saved and wrangled a live Star Trek Day show when apparently no one bothered to hire a stage manager. And she did it all from out front with a DJ she couldn't communicate with. I was so impressed after that. I thought, And I finally got a chance to tell her so in San Francisco. But we were sitting there not knowing it was so clunkily done. They were trying to be funny, but it was hard on that scale. What is it? 2,000 people in that hall? I don't know, 3,000, 5. And they're up there, microcosms, the two of them with Alex. We thought it might have been a prank, but then I thought, who wastes 10 minutes of precious Hall H time? So I kept thinking over my mind. Some of the people sitting next to me, I'm like, do we what? And then they got up. They actually quasi ran some things by to see what people laughed at, but I think half the audience was still trying to figure out what was going on. And then when they had a little charade of pitching to Alex, these log lines, taglines, shenanigans and shenanigans and whatever. No hijinks, just shenanigans. Which was my favorite Saturday morning game show when I was a little kid. Look it up. Or, excuse me, Google it. Stubby K. And he said, Alex finally said, look, let's end this shenanigan. Let's end this and just say, I think you've got the first live action comedy Star Trek series ever. And I was like, well, that sounded pretty definitive. That sounds like it. So there we were. I had to do a little bit of filing and whatever. But there it gradually rolled over the world that that's what's coming. Now it's got some people set off already. Oh, no, not a sitcom, not a comedy. But remember, that's what they said about animation. And that's what they said about a kid's Star Trek again. That's what they said about a lot of things. I loved how the metaphor, the log line for Section 31 was, this is going to be the messy Star Trek. And they implicitly said this is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy on steroids. A lot of kick-ass, a lot of comedy, a love story woven through, and a lot more. And it's in a time period that we've never seen before. It's basically young Rachel Garrett. So the Enterprise C was lost in what? 2336, 23, whatever. So this is prior to that. So it's in that BC era I've always wanted to look at. Not necessarily on the B and the C, but just that time, the mid Kirk Picard era. We'll see. It certainly had an attitude, and it certainly looked like it was bigger in scope than a TV movie. It looked like it could be theatrical with no problem. And it certainly had the attitude, and that's what it needs. Yeah, not much on other. The thing was, outside of Hall H, and you can read all that, you can watch the trailers, they're all there. I'll probably be talking more about content as we roll along. I know I'll be talking about it with the Portal 47ers and our Ask Dr. Trek roundtables. We search all that out. The other thing that was interesting was Prodigy, because of the turf hoops. So Paramount Plus wasn't sponsoring this Prodigy panel separate with Nickelodeon, but they were, or Netflix, but CBS Studios was sponsoring a separate one with the Hageman brothers and the great Kate Mulgrew herself and Brett Gray, the voice of Dal, and my friend who I finally got to meet in person, Ryan Britt, East Coast writer, journalist, thinks just the way I do about things. So he's obviously brilliant. But I really appreciate his take and his easy-handed, here's what's concerning, here's what's not, here's what, moderated the panel for the studio. And it was awesome. People watched a whole half-hour episode and then had the half-hour talk. There was some cute stuff coming out of it. No real news aside from just keep on keeping on. All the same thing as the news at Lower Decks. Just keep watching, keep running the meter, signing petitions. Kurtzman himself said, keep doing petitions, keep running the numbers, keep sounding off, keep the social media alive. And the Prodigy discs are coming out, the next Blu-rays and all. Make sure and buy those, because hard disk number sales are great too, as it happened the first time around. But that was a cute and fun one. Nothing really amazing except for the announcement of the disc sales coming, which was a thing, but a lot of love. Sold out room. I say sold out room. full, it's not SRO because no one's allowed to stand, but fully seated room of at least 500-600 people. People turned away at the door at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. I tweeted those pictures. That was a full house. Hall H was full, if not all the way full. For one thing, there's always people back there for the next things in line. So Hall H is almost always full. But the other interesting bit was Saturday evening, 5:30, 6:30, people had been waggling for ages about what the heck was this Star Trek Doctor Who panel with Alex Kurtzman and Russell T Davies, the current big man for Doctor Who. Tongues have been wagging. Well, the ultimate upshot was that there was a crossover announced. The game company that has a license with both Star Trek using Lower Decks characters and Doctor Who, kind of an animation style for both. There's a crossover game announced. And you can catch all the details for that. But people were wondering about something bigger, i.e. live action. And I knew if it was that big, it would have been part of the Hall H. Or there would have been a crossover. There would have been buffer time. They would have scheduled Star Trek and Doctor Who and then had a buffer time panel in between for Kurtzman and Davies. So when it was Saturday night at 5:30, in a much smaller room, still sold out, I say, still all seats taken. And there was a little bit of a nervousness, but people were still thinking, what? Now, there was a pop-up museum, the way Star Trek's done recently, that CBS has had, with Who and Trek costumes and props. It was very, very nice, sweet. I've got pictures. I hadn't even posted them, but you've seen them online. Nothing really earth-shaking there, aside from the Dusty Able poster with Who and Trek combined. And actually, the best crossover of this might be the little video feature that they did. Every other moment is a Who, a Trek, a Who, a Trek, a Who, a Trek with a narration. And it blends seamlessly. Who and Trek are the two optimistic, non-dystopian franchises out there for futuristic, even idealistic storytelling, right? Aspirational. It's just that in every other franchise, they're aspiring to get out of the shithole they're in. And in Trek and Who, they're aspiring to bring their gleaming utopia worlds of understanding and diversity to those who don't have it yet, and fighting to make sure their own stays clean. So, yeah, Section 31 is the messy one. I love that. So it was an interesting talk, and I need to go back to the transcript. Alex even got her, they both even addressed, they had lots of fan questions come up. Mutual Admiration Society, as you'd expect. It was some fun questions. I think you've probably read all this, but the ones that stuck out to me were asking each one what they would like, if they'd like to write a story for the other franchise. And Alex kind of pulled a Rick Berman and kind of did oh, well, there's so many. And then he kind of got gigged and he's like, oh yeah, you'd say that. And he said, no, we'll do one. He says, I'll do. He says, Russell says, oh, I don't think we could afford you, Alex. And Alex says, I'll do it for free. I was like, okay, that's on video. That's on tape. They asked Davies what he wanted, and he said, Borg. Borg all day long. Oh, I want to do a Borg story. He says, and I know it's hard to do because it's increasingly harder to wrangle, like, what is the next thing you can do that hasn't been done already? And it fits. And what era are you doing it in? But he wanted to do a Borg story, which was cute. And they ask each other their favorite captain or doctor. And Davies said, well, until a couple of years ago, it wouldn't have been this. But as of the last couple of years, it's Michael Burnham. And I was like, okay. And Alex actually said he really came into Doctor Who paying attention with the return after the hiatus, after their fallow years. And that he said Eccleston, actually. And he had a personal connection. And then he said Tennant, of course, but he really likes Judy right now. So, okay, an actual answer. Anyway, it was a really intriguing panel with people sitting on the edge of their chairs the whole time. The game announcement finally came. And then Russell, who has no fear of live mic situations, kind of grabbed the mic and said, look, everybody, I know you'd all love for us to say this. I'm paraphrasing. You would love for us to announce a Who Trek live action crossover. He said, and there'd be nothing more, awesome than we would love to announce it too. But we're talking about two large entertainment empires who would have to be happy and their attorneys. But he said, never say never. He says, who can make that happen? You all. So he did a big, fans demanded. And yes, there was the, I guess, IDW comic crossover 10, 12 years ago with Tom Baker's Doctor. I can never, what is it? Is that the fourth Doctor? That hasn't been interrupted by Duran Bilar. Oh, no, wait, that's Dax hosts. There hasn't been an interrupted new companion host. So that was interesting. They had the International Day of Friendship they've started between the two franchises. Really cute question askers. One guy in a Star Wars thing said, "Can I crash this?" So that was interesting. It had a lot of intrigue, a lot of people wanting to ask questions. I didn't expect anything, again, because of the venue. If it had been that earth-shaking, they would not have had it in a little 600, 800 person room. But getting in and out of those was fun. Then we had our own two panels. I hope you saw on my socials. Thursday, I did a Roddenberry panel about the next generation gap, about fandom gaps and entry-level shows and too much canon and how do you all that. We had a lot of fun. We had a sold-out room then. We had a line turned away on Thursday. That was, I think, it was at least 300 folks, maybe 500 in that room. And then Sunday, we had a huge panel. Myself, John Champion, James Kerwin, Elise Pearl, Olivia Youngers, and Ryan Britt. Almost had too many people. I worry about stacking panel on the future of the franchise against the future of streaming. Who should be served? Who's not being served? What does it look like? And again, we had some great questions in the audience. So my main goal was to not burn myself out for Vegas. And here's the thing. Overall, I kept looking around since pandemic, storied Comic-Con San Diego and the adjacent Gaslamp District, which makes it different than any other con that I know of. Vegas, like New York, it's a pain to go out anywhere else. But the Gaslamp District is all these nightclubs and restaurants and diners. And a lot now of the con Comic-Con is a nonprofit, San Diego, and they have spread out things to the lobby con, basically the glorified lawn and pop-up areas. And they encourage people to go in and rent diners and restaurants and do that, use that. A lot of the places have parties that are off-site night, all the evening and industry parties. So there's a lot of dispersal the last few years when things were getting crazy toward the 2010s peaks. But even then, I still feel like, and I have not got to check in with everyone, some of the vendors on sales, but I still feel like between the floor at the exhibit hall and the Gaslamp Main Street, 5th Street there with the adjacent streets, but when you first come off, and cross over, it still felt a little underwhelming, under the numbers of even a year ago. And maybe that was just smarter dispersal. Maybe that was in part due to something. If there was anything controversial happening this year, it's that there was a lot of talk, local talk that now got picked up about how Comic-Con San Diego has one more year of contract with the convention center down there. Now, the thing that people in the industry and fans love about that is because San Diego tends to be, it's right there on the bay. So it's cooler than almost anywhere. It was a 20-degree drop from here down to San Diego over the weekend. It's right there on the bay. It's scenic. You get cool breezes. It's usually not so humid. And even when it is, it's less humid than it is anywhere else. And the fact that if you're in the industry in LA, it's like a lark. It's not like you have to fly somewhere. You can get in your studio limo and you can get 8 people in and all, or, a bus van. Everybody can get in and go down in caravan, and you can have a life. You go down for the day and your show is promoted, you can go back. People love to take the train down. A lot of fans do that. I've done that more than once. They love that for that reason. And I don't know, before the pandemic, 8 years ago or so, 10 years ago maybe, there was a lot of talk about moving because of being the convention center was not expanded enough. And the answer to that has since been to move out in the community, use other venues, even things like libraries, theaters, all the adjacent big hotel ballroom rooms are being utilized now. But they passed a bond issue, which was tangled up in legalese that was done incorrectly, and so the addition didn't happen. They opted not to revote the vote. And now that's coming up again. They're still cramped, but now there's a backlash against apparently a lot of the hotels. All this happens with hotels that give up a block of rooms, half their rooms, to go at a discounted rate that's the same everywhere, a percentage discount, so that fans can get in at a decent price. And they have now what's called Hotel Palooza, where it's as bad as trying to get your tickets, if that's how you're getting them straight up, in a lottery, online lottery. And people get closed out in minutes, even with the 30 or 40 hotels. It seems as if this year, apparently, fewer hotels are participating. And the con supports this far-flung hotel system by running bus routes. So there's all the different colored routes that go, they figure out where the hotels are and they figure out the best loop times. And it's free. It's there's each bus has 4 to 6 or 8 hotels on a stop. They consolidate hotels, but it gets you down there. So you can be 10 miles away, 5 to 10 miles away, and still get down without a cost. And they run way, way, way late, especially on the weekend. It's been the system forever. But apparently there's fewer hotels participating. Fewer hotels are putting into the room block because they want to charge out the wazoo for more of the rooms in their stock. And there's been a backlash apparently this year to the point where the convention has one more year in its contract, and they've outwardly, if you hear this talk, this is what the core reason is. They're talking about moving if they can't get the hotels to get back in line and basically stop gouging. It was very personal because the group I always go down with are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 nights of hotel, a 10 to 15 minute tram ride away. We got to use the trolleys, the fixed rail trolleys that San Diego has, not the bus routes the con provides, but it's a 15-minute Old Town. And if you're familiar with the area, you may know exactly what I'm talking about. We had 4 nights of hotel that were basically double what my 5 nights at the Rio are going to cost in Vegas. That's emblematic of what's going on. So where that leads, again, people love San Diego because it's not LA. It is like a vacation. And it's not Vegas. It's not Vegas yet again. And I'm saying that for the whole industry going up there. Trek folks, that's where we go. It's even as a legacy of the experience that's not there anymore. And where they would have it in Vegas, if they would take over the convention center up by the old experience in Rio, Hilton, I don't know. But that's one of the things being floated. And, people chatter, like they chattered 18 years ago about the move then. What happens, we'll see. And it wouldn't move again until 2026 would be the first one up. That's the chatter out of San Diego. Lots and lots of people for Trek making a bigger impact than ever before. More Trek cosplay, just randos Trek people wearing uniforms. Lots of lower decks. It's kind of the standout because of the white stripe. But every year has seen an increasing fan turnout for Star Trek. And again, we had on Thursday and Sunday, we had awesomes for our little panels and in a feeding frenzy. So you can see I'll post some more photos. All that to say, I was maintaining health to get to Vegas. And Vegas is coming up. And that's going to be interesting. A few tweaks this year. The side stages are going to be a little different. More creatives than ever before after I've begged and begged and begged for years and being a part of that. So yes, anxious for lots of folks from all the eras are going to be there. I need to post my square, but basically I have an hour with Sandra Pillar, Michael Pillar's widow. I haven't even had her on Portal 47 yet, and this is going to be interesting. And I have one of two. I'm so thrilled with this. I lobbied for years and years. No one would listen. We finally got Andy Kindred, on stage, Gene Kuhn's former assistant, also hooked in with the civil rights movement in LA as a young woman, helping out and driving and assisting. Just amazing. Had a career and a life already in radio by the time she got to Desilu as a diversity hire. But then, oh boy, made so much of her time and was a protege to the late Gene Kuhn. And of course was devastated when he passed so quickly. And an expat living in Australia the last 40 years. And she gets over. And her book is out. We were so excited to see that last year. I'm sure she'll have some more of her books with her. That's an amazing life she's had. But I have an hour with Andy to talk about Nichelle and Sandra. And then we'll do State of the Trek. James Kerwin and I are going to do canon smoothing again. The canon smoothing to The Wrath of Retcon. And I think I'm on a nonfiction writers panel over at the stage that Mark Altman's put together. The Trexperts have taken over the DeForest Kelley secondary stage and got a lot of backstage creatives only after I've been lobbying and others have been lobbying for so many years. So, so many folks. The schedule, I have to key it up there. So Ryan and Anne Marie are running the third stage this year, working around. Bonnie Gordon is hosting, and Ryan is hosting some of the regional cons. They're trying to float and see how that goes. I think people are excited for the Dallas and then adjacent Boston, adjacent New York, adjacent DC. The Chicago one is up next. So it'll be, the same but different for Vegas this year. I'm doing more. Then, of course, we'll have our Portal 47 live dive, and we'll be talking about the day tours, Trekland Treks, and talking about Portal, and just, talking about everything. And the nighttime events, things off campus are happening. So I'm ready. I feel like I'm halfway escaped with my health. No COVID booms, but there's some con crud going around from San Diego. I think mine is just over. One night we got stuck in a karaoke trying to have conversations, and that was not helpful. But I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'll see what's going on with everybody, and we take a break and do our chat in a minute. But yeah, that's kind of the news coming out of San Diego. As I said, 1 year, San Diego, my rearview mirror. Years since we've had them back to back like this, and years since we've been back to back on this level for me. It was really interesting because normally they have the free autograph alley tables, and you can have 2 days of like a 4-hour shift if you're on the list and you take it. And I only had time for 1 day and 3 hours, and then I had to get over to Hall H. And I had more people come by with companions, TNG, not the blacks, but the red and the blue companions to sign. No, it was just, it was interesting. It was like the whole thing was San Diego this year was a blur, but not an exhausting blur. I actually kept up with health and blisters and tired ankles and stayed on top of things. And, was headed home by 11 every night. So I was kind of proud of that because we had no time for rest up. We're heading back to Vegas this year and no time to recoup. So I had to take care. Now we'll blow it all. No, I can't say that. Next weekend, we have Family Day at Will Rogers State Historic Park. If you're in SoCal and you want to come out and see the other half of my life, be glad to show you Will's legacy here on the 80th anniversary of the park. And his widow, Betty's deeding it to the state as an amazing state park, historical site, and an urban oasis. It's amazing. Guys, that's it. We can talk about Vegas coming up. I know a lot of folks are already in Vegas. You're watching the socials. People are landing. It's fun to see people get there on Sunday and scout out everything. People were worried about the changeover on the Rio, I should say. But it looks like the new management, people are working really well. Normally, things like Masquerade Bar aren't open in midweek, but they are now for the Trek folk. Somewhere somebody got the memo or it was introduced to them. The iBar has changed over. The old All-American Grill that I was called the Rio Denny's is no longer the Rio Denny's. It's upgraded a little bit. I hope they haven't priced themselves out into oblivion. But the Shutters Bar, the Library Bar, the Shutters Bar, the Library Bar, the Masquerade are still what they were in the convention spaces. The Ipanema rooms are remodeled. The Masquerade rooms aren't. We'll see what happens. We will see what's going on. And we'll see what all these tweaks in the inner workings of creation mean. And anyway, if you're there, I can't wait to see everybody. Come by the booth. I'll have some early. We didn't get to launch full bore, but there's a soft launch for the big Geek Nation tour next year. I'll have information about that. It's on the site right now. You can get the link on my site to go over there right now. But we'll be talking up Portal 47 and Trekland Treks and all the podcasts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's it, gang. If you are leaving us right now, hang on if you're on live, of course. And we'll get back to chat here and we'll dive in. If you're watching us later on, though, on YouTube, love to have you here live some Tuesday if you can. It's nominally 8 p.m., 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then 9 UK time, 10 Central European. Love it if you could join in with us. And if you can't, make sure and give a watch and sound off on the comments below right now. Otherwise, everybody, just a quick reminder that I so appreciate. This is last month's Patreon folk, okay? I have not updated for August yet. So just another shout out of thanks to Diana Hopkins, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Lawrence Todd, Halbeard Gunjonsen, Justin Porteous, Galinda Bruton, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, Chris Jiggins, Keith Rombach, Comedy Forecast, Andrew Drzymski. And our TTL Live Wires, Rob McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Alan Hoensi, Dave Gregory, Greg Wickstrom, Casey Shafsky, and the Big KS. Yes, not on the list, but he will be next month. James Kerwin up there in the TTLers too. What am I talking about? It's my simple Patreon gang. Just $5 and $10 a month. Boom. Patreon.com/TreklandLive. Hey, it's not quite the end of the month. You can still get in and be in for August pop up. It's $5 and $10. It's a shout out, and then it's shout out and access to our early day Portal 47. I say early day. I mean the last 5-6 years. The last 8-9 years of all of our great behind the scenes interviews, many of whom are people you've never heard from before, much less seen their personal pictures, all that stuff. It's all what makes the Portal so great. And hey, it's Tuesday. That means there is another great Trek Files up with a new guest, Dr. Barrett Caldwell, who is a professor of aeronautics and astronautics at Purdue. Also, industrial engineering. He's a great mix of space and ergonomics and technology and futurism. And best of all, he is a huge Trek fan. I met him at IndyCon last year, Starbase Indy, and said he's going to be perfect for the Trek Files. We've got a speech Gene gave to a space conference in 1977 about how to lobby for a space program. Sadly, so much has not changed. A lot has evolved, but some things have not. And we had a lot of fun talking about that. Check it out, the Trek Files. Our new home, which I need to add to this, is thetrekfiles.com, which takes you to our page on Memory Alpha, which now is a database. It's a database of the whole show. You can search it easily, listen to all the old episodes. You can look for topics. You can look for our guest, who's always a professional actor, member of the Trek family, writer, director, crew, or people from Trek adjacent, Gene adjacent topics like this. They're all there. The player, the document, and of course, the Memory Alpha links. It's all there. Where I am also is right here on Twitter X at Larry Nemechek. Hey, Instagram, it's Larry Nemechek's Trekland. Same thing, Facebook. It is on YouTube. Please like and subscribe there too. And again, portal47.net if you want to see what all the fuss is about. The mini-con all year long. No need for the post-con blues when you leave your con of choice, whether it's Vegas or Comic-Con or whatever. Anyway, gang, that's going to do it for today. Now, if you're with me live, hang on. We'll do the chat in just a second. But if you're on YouTube watching later and heading out, I just want to say thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Make sure and subscribe, like, ring the bell, do all the things. And most of all, stay healthy out there. Would you do all the things? Stay woke. Check the sources. Yeah, the fake II is on the prowl. Watch out. And trek well, everybody. Now, no guests this week, so we're going old school with the comments. Oh no. Well, Chuck, I hope you're feeling better. Hope health concerns are better, and that's too bad. But hopefully, we'll see you next year or somewhere along the way, right? Yeah, comedy. Like I said, I knew doing it in a small room like that, there was not going to be a big thing. You know, and a lot of people are well, this will be a topic, I'm sure, down the line at some point. A lot of people are trepidatious about this. One of my good friends, who's a huge Who fan and Trek fan, was fine with it being a comic. If it's spin-off media, that's cool. Books, comics, whatever. They just didn't know how they felt about the live action. And we've seen so many landmarks conquered that gave people cause for pause lately, right? The crossover with animation, the musical. More to come. They're hinting around about this murder mystery, noir thing, Hollywood mystery, whatever. I have a little insight on that I'm not about to give up. But that will be amazing as well when it comes down the pike. But a lot of people were worried about that. And whether they make it or not, I don't know. I've never felt like something like that was in better hands. If it went now, there's so many talents across the Trek spectrum. It wouldn't just be Alex doing it by himself. He would look around the team the same way that Rick got Ken Biller and Renee Faria to write the Ride script, not the Ride company development people, who was a little hacky, a little touristy, but he got the vibe that he wanted and that Paramount wanted using Star Trek TV writers. And so I'm willing to give all kinds of things a go, but I know lots of people are just as trepidatious about this live action happening as they were for all the other things we've seen, and for the most part have astounded and surprised people, much less left them positive about the experience. So we will see. Hey, Hoodie Place. You were so happy for you on SDCC to see us do some living and coverage. Cool. Hey, Anne Marie, why are you here on this? Why are you not working I know you're triple tasking. You're quadro tasking, Anne Marie, one of the people who have stepped up and taken reins as you're doing programming. Get back to work. Oh, that's right, Hoodie Place. You're in Germany. Yay. Hey, Roland. Yeah, thank you. I probably in hindsight should have just taken today off, but I went, I didn't have a guest. I didn't want to stress out to that level of just worrying about logistics. Have you all enjoyed having the guests? We've had like 3 or 4 in the last month and a half. Summertime's a big time for that. And I have a few more I'd like to have. It's a perfect slot for authors who don't fit Trek Files and they don't fit Portal 47. If they didn't actually work on the show, or they don't actually have a connection to something from Gene's files and Gene Trek or Gene opinions. But thank you, Roland. Glad to see you here. Of course, I should say, everybody, I never do this. I don't commercialize enough, but we do have super chats. And if you want to throw in a little silver, I will look for your questions first. I just did. Hello. I didn't see any today. Now I have to find my place. Let's see. Oh, yeah. The complete Voyager box. It's always sitting back there. It's still shrink wrapped. I have the, you know, they've never HD'd it, so. Well, Comic-Con has, do I have my badge? I thought I had my badge here that I could use as a prop. I guess I didn't. I had the press access badges there. Well, how about that? Oh, no, it is. So this is what your main badge looks like. And if you're an attendee, it says attendee. If you're a professional or staff or exhibitor, it's over here. And this year, Paramount Plus bought the ad here on the thing. So, yeah, and it's that chip beep-in system that they've had for several years where you go in and out at checkpoints and you just register. They're showing the traffic flow and all that. So, yeah, and no one I guess the attendees have this. Otherwise, it's all the preview and the 4 days are all there anyway. But these other ones were the special tickets for the special seating. Bigger deal on Hall H, obviously, than the other ones. Now what, Hoodie? Section 31 is not the one we knew from DS9 Enterprise. Okay. Well, see, this is what I'm saying. Section 31 has had a different vibe across the centuries, and it was pre-Federation, remember? It was an Earth Starfleet connected organization, right? With Reed. And his operative, Sloan was Bashir's guy. Not Samuels. No, Samuels was, right. Yes. August 1st, Postal Service issue a commemorative for Dungeons and Dragons, believe this or not. Thank you for the reminder, Alan. Good to see you too. Now what? Oh, Haramanabia. Well, Melanie, thank you, and you're welcome. And there's lots of other vicariators out there besides me, as you know. But I tried, and I tried to do. I did some live tweeting from H and from the WhoCon. There was so little. There was a couple of cute things from the Prodigy panel. Not much news, but a lot of cute things, and a lot of mainstream stuff was going to be released immediately. I did have one moment. I should have put this in the main. I had one moment in the Hall H panel when they showed the Section 31 trailer. They were so revved up, they showed it again. And at the end, they had a Section 31 logo. Now, I couldn't remember seeing it exactly final like that. So I was going to click it. You could take pictures of the panel. We could all do photos, but you were not allowed to film the videos, which in hindsight was kind of crazy because within 15 minutes, 10 minutes, those videos were going to be on the internet. You know, hit a button and go. The crowd in the hall live got to see them first. But at one point, when they ran the Section 31 trailer a second time, I was going to grab the title card at the end. I didn't care about the stuff. It was booming by too fast anyway to make sense of it. And I was waiting with my camera up, waiting for the end so I could snap it when it came up. And within a minute, there was like a 2-seat gap over here, and woman was leaning over saying, "They're asking for you." And I look up at the end, and there's a guy standing at the end of the row. And I was like 6 or 8 seats from it, but it wasn't full. So I put my stuff down, come along, and I had my camera in my hand. And the guy says, "I saw you videotaping during the trailer." And I'm like, he says, "There's no videoing allowed. I need to see your camera." And he wasn't beating me up. And we were standing in the dark-ish with the panel still going on, trying to be quiet in the middle of 5,000, like we're like, So the only people that saw it were the people within 3 or 4 yards. So, and the people directly behind probably. So I'm like, I'm sorry, like what? Like, were you not allowed to take a still of the font at the end of the trailer? For one thing, I could care less. I have enough to do without videoing trailers. I know they'll be on the internet in 5-10 minutes. Like, what is the point? Anyway, he says, I saw you. And I said, he said, I need to see your camera. I said, here, fine. I said, I said, I took the still of the font title at the end of the thing, but I said, I don't video. And he said, da, da, da. I was so flabbergasted. And we flipped through, and he goes, oh. And it was like, it just totally threw me. And I flipped through back and forth. He goes, okay. After I did for about 30 seconds, he goes, okay, I see. Oh, it's okay. I don't know what he said. He didn't say it's okay. He says, no, I see. No, those are fine. And I said, here's what I did. I said, here's the font title card at the end. He goes, no, that's okay. I said, I thought that was fine. He goes, yeah, that's okay. And I'm going, it's because I had it up and I was waiting to click right on. That's why. And there was no still image of it. It was only at the end of the trailer. Anyway, it was a little shaky. And plus then you become aware that it's like when you're pulled out in the line at an airport or a cop pulls you over, then it's like you're aware that a 5-person radius around you is all looking at it. It's like, what did you do? And Trevor and some of the Roddenberry people were sitting right in front of me. And I'm sure they're like, Larry, what have you done now? I was like, I haven't done anything. Anyway, that was a throw moment. I lost about half of the Academy set up with Noga and Noga Landau and Alex. I lost my train of thought there, then got back into it when they started introducing the cadets. Anyway, that was a weird moment. Okay, back to the chat. Back to things. Boy, Hoodie, you're just all over it here. Well, Chuck, that could happen as people keep saying more and more. It was theoretical in the beginning, but now people get it that we have a buffet, and it's totally fine. There was a lot of talk about apparently how Strange New Worlds some way has broken through to the mainstream. And there are a lot of people who watch Strange New Worlds who don't watch any other Trek. Legacy shows, it's the same way Next Generation broke through in 5th season. And that's good. It's better that that's happening than the opposite. But and to a lesser extent, a little bit Lower Decks, but fraction of that. Everything else, Picard didn't. We'll see what happens. Discovery finally did just by weight of the number of episodes and hanging around a while. Prodigy's doing well. We'll see. It's on demand now, so we'll see. Still not sold at all, Sean, on 31 either. If it's a time travel thing, should be the temporal agency, not 31. 31 should be like the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That's it. I was hoping 31 in itself, you're right, it's not time travel. But the fact that Georgiou took the Guardian of Forever, I didn't know if she was going to be connected to it. And everything I hear from people says no. This is where she lands, is where the show is set. And you get a glimpse of that. It's sometime before Rachel Garrett was captain of the sea in the mid-late 2230s. 2330s. Those damn centuries catch up on me sometimes. So we'll see. Well, Hoodie, if you're enjoying anything going on right now, if the video is up from the Who Trek panel, I'm going to urge I need to watch it again. I experienced it live, but I was busy trying to have a brain to live tweet it. And there's bits I want to go back and watch and read the transcript for. I know what the Enterprise C is my favorite Enterprise. Underdog. Hey, Zahir. Academy is not The Office. That's Tawny's comedy in development. But Academy is going to be a different, just by way of how their sets are designed. They've already openly talked about the way they're doing their sets won't feel like a traditional Trek show, but we'll see. And the fact that they're on Earth, but they'll get off planet plenty of times. Yes, absolutely, Chuck. But Section 31 was on the runway once and got bumped, and they almost lost Michelle. I know a lot of fans would say, "Oh well, who cares?" But that's the reality of it. And Academy, and when Legacy blew up, they had 2 on the launch pad already. So we'll see. I saw them last year. I didn't get over this year to their booth. It was really strange. I barely was on the floor. I met a lot of my new cohorts from Star Trek The Cruise, finally, on the program side. And that was great. We had a meeting and met and talked. Yes, Doctor Who is on first. I got that reference, Chuck. I Don't Know's on second. Yes, Dr. I Don't Know's on second. Yes, this was announced. Hey, comedy. This was announced at the panel. That was one of the few pieces of actual hardcore news that came out, that their premiere date's October 24th. And of course, yes, no one is talking like it's the end. There was a lot of roundabout talk, whether it's a movie, whether it's some characters in a different venue, what it is. But people all feel fair. Even though he's got a new show, he still has Solar Opposites. He sold a new show. Tawny is obviously going bonkers, and Bradward, Jack Quaid, all of them are doing great and working. Well, thanks for sharing, Hoodie. You're not the only fan who has opinions, and opinions much like this. There's drama and adventure in space and time, which chronicles the making of the first episode of Doctor. Yes, I've seen that. It's awesome. Strangely enough, Sean, there are things in the works trying to get to exactly what you're saying. It's just a matter of finding producers and financing, but I know there are those who are trying to make those kinds of things happen. But it's a long road getting from there to here. See Wanda. Hi, Wanda. I know you've been with us before, but good to see you. I think by now, I'm just so high on her. And I'm just so thrilled for how her career is busting out. First writing on Academy and now getting this chance. I think it's very savvy, very smart. And I think between the Trek buffet and we've seen the buffet of the way comedy is not old sitcoms, as much as I love All in the Family and Mary Tyler Moore and Bob Newhart and many more. And, I Love Lucy, and then dramedy MASH. And then we've got all the modern shows that are, one camera. I really feel like they'll find something in there. Hey, Hoodie Place. Well, Rick's getting on up there. Maybe he can consult. Hey, Michael, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, there we go. Russell T. Davies has a textbook on how to write in the room for a season. Oh, really? Thank you, Melanie. Days of Our Lives had Days of Our Lives was where John Delancey's Eugene kind of put him on the map to play Q back at Clue. I'm sure he played Clue at some point in his life. He had kids to play Q back in the day in the mid 80s. My city editor at my newspaper and the managing editor both watched Days of Our Lives on the little TV that otherwise was always turned to CNN. And when Delancey was cast as Q, she said, "Oh my God, Eugene's going to be in Star Trek." He was the crazy inventor that lived in the basement. Started off as a villain and then got, much like Q, not unlike Q at all. Two of the characters in Days of Our Lives had bought the rights to a soap opera that had been canceled. They have to recast the 3 lead characters or make it a new show. So Kate says, maybe we should call it Body and Soul: The Next Generation and set it in the future. Very cute. Very cute. Oh, Christoph, you all were at Blackpool. Referred to fan demands when talking about Runa, her dog, coming back to Strange New Worlds. She almost gave away Akiva's email address. Oh, that would have been funny. Akiva was on the panels, obviously. Yep, Chuck, and I've got you. I remember us talking last year. I can't tell you what it was about, but I definitely remember us talking at times over the years, but especially last year. Eek, you were expressing 2 separate thoughts above. Okay, well, you can always take a second run at it. Hi, Timothy. Glad you could join us. Christoph, you are currently in London recovering from Destination Blackpool, accidentally in a hotel right next to the Excel Center, where even Comic-Con only uses a fraction of the building. That building is being expanded for the second time. So if SDCC needs more space, yeah, London Comic-Con, that's all we need. Our little 3-hour jaunt down to cooler weather would not be that. Oh, I see. Hilton Hotels, can you help sort out Star Trek conventions? Reasonable prices for the fans. Paris Hilton. Okay, do you have a line to Paris Hilton? We could very cute. How fitting would it be if they had a TrekCon in the old Star Trek The Experience space? Did you know Bonnie Gordon was a cast member there? I didn't know Bonnie was an Experience cast member. I don't remember her. Has she mentioned this elsewhere? I don't remember her saying anything about it before. I mean, I've known her well the last year and a half, so not like I've read her biography or anything. I started out by accidentally stalking her on the plane going to Chicago. Oh, the Borg kids in the photo. Yeah, weren't they awesome? I looked, I was like, oh my gosh, that was standing right outside the Who Trek Museum pop-up. I did not get to the lodge, and I did not get to the installation on the floor. And I had a press pass to cut in and do the thing on the floor. It was just the Hall H, the higher end things for Tony and Trek movie ate up a lot of time. Canon smoothing sounds like a spa package. Well, JR, it's a word I've used for about at least 20 years, a phrase. So there you go. Hey, Sean, I missed this. With all productions going to Canada, could they have a con on the Paramount lot? They'd be empty in the summer anyway. You know, it's funny because my friend Eric Stillwell had tentative approval to do that at the end of TNG, like the TNG to Voyager crossover. And the left hand of Paramount said okay, and he started publicizing it, and the right hand said, whoa, 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 whoa. And then he got yelled at for doing it. He was like, everybody ducked. Everybody ducked that gave him approval. But I still have the flyer. Oh, I hadn't heard this. I hope he recovers. Wonder how he's doing for... Hope he's fine for Vegas. Oh, boy. Yeah, how about those legacy castings? And Picardo kind of came out. I mean, well, I have a short story of funny about Tilly being in Academy, but I think we all kind of figured that out. I was talking to one of the younger writers about something else, and I just said, well, it's going to be interesting to see. That was a really nice way that they set up Tilly to go to Academy. And she was like, oh, we haven't said she's in Academy. It's like, it'd be the biggest waste of space and time. And I since found out that, well, there were things set up that didn't get fulfilled in episodes, like the planet episode of the race, the folks on the planet that winds up in the Denobulan weather tower. Alex Kurtzman made a Star Trek soap opera. Well, JR, it's, I mean, I'm either the two that I do without being hosted, although I do have accommodations and hosting help for the finances, or Vegas and San Diego, because they're right here. They're so big and they're so close. But anything else, I need to be, hosted. I don't jet around the world going to cons. I know some fans who do, God bless them. That's where their money goes, and they can do that. Oh, hey, Coclud. My opinion on the term of Robert Picardo. Well, we were talking on Twitter the day it happened, and the back of my mind, somebody said, I wonder if he's the backup module from that planet in the Delta Quadrant. That might be a stretch. That would be a deep cut, but then they've been making deep cuts lately. Interesting. Why, after 800 years, they still feel like, do they keep upgrading? Did they find it? That's why I'm wondering what exactly that's going to be. And if he's recurring or regular. 2 of those were regulars and 2 were just recurring. Comedy, I would think you should. I would recommend it. A good old hotel con as opposed to massive, crazy Comic-Con. Yeah. Well, this is what yes, I'm ahead of you. You're ahead of me. Is it the Living Witness one or the original? First Contact, or one of the miners. Then we'd have the EMH attack on Mars. Well, now it does make sense. Tilly left to teach at the academy. The Admiral is still the Admiral. Tig is interesting, or Jet Reno is an interesting choice. Vance, he's a good guy and a good character, and it would make sense that it's same time period he would be there. Just like Nechayev was in some of the DS9s and, yada, yada. The Trek Files are here. Is a 20-minute podcast that actually looks at the Trek Files of Gene Roddenberry that aren't already down in the UCLA archives. They are memos, letters, photos, artwork, scraps of paper, all from Gene's files, both in the production of Star Treks and other projects that he's done, and his mail with celebrities and fans, and the sidebars like Lincoln Enterprises, and his speeches, his writings, like for magazines and things over the years. We get a professional person, someone from the Star Trek family, someone who's adjacent, like this week we had Barrett Caldwell, who's a professor of, he's not only a professor of industrial engineering, like ergonomics, human interface with technology and machines, but a futurist and also a professor of aeronautics and aerospace. And he's a huge fan. He was a great guest on a panel of 3 folks. He was the most gregarious and funny, and I thought he'd be perfect for the Trek Files. Sometimes it's one of the actors or background folks. Sometimes it's someone from a fan, but someone from fandom history. Sometimes it's family of Star Trek fans, like we had Grace Lee Whitney's son talking about his book. We've had Sean Pillar, trying to think of family. So it's the guest. It's never I wanted the guest level, and nothing against all my podcast friends. Heaven forbid. We talk to each other all the time. But the Trek Files, and it's short. It's short and sweet. That was the mandate from John Champion at Roddenberry. And it's a weekly 15, 20 minutes. We could go, sometimes we go stretch it to half hour if we have somebody awesome, which we have often. Jonathan Frakes, the original Zahn. I mean, we have really cool people. We push it a little bit, but it's never more than like half an hour and usually 15 to 20. How's that? Every week we're in our 12th season, 13th season of 24 shows a season with a month hiatus in between. Well, yes, I think Picardo could play all of them, with or without CG. Well, yes. Plus, remember, Academy is concurrent with the end of Discovery. It's all right there together. It makes sense. But the focus is going to be on those young kids, gang, and Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti. I mean, it's getting squeezy to try to squeeze anything else in. It'll be like who's popping up to teach at Hogwarts. I mean, this is not rocket science. Barrett Caldwell knows what rocket science is. Yes, Timothy. Either we cross streams or you said this before I talked about it. It's apparently set on Risa. And I told someone on Twitter, we haven't gotten Legacy or this yet. The streaming world and Paramount's, this is what we talked about at our Sunday panel. And maybe I should have talked about this more today. Maybe I'll do this after Vegas. The streaming world, big picture, slightly smaller picture, the future of Paramount after the Skydance takeover and remerger, the merging of turfs and everything. There'll be a lot of shakeout and shakedown from that. And a lot of that will be focused on the future direction of the big picture movies. But the future of Paramount Plus and who's calling the shots, what the capacity is, no one is moving to dump Alex. Haha. The part of this is exactly, will Paramount Plus be in the same look? Will it get merged? Will they be taken from streaming and put under just a production studio to go wherever? Because right now, nobody is advancing anything. Pat, this thing about Tawny's show, Tawny and Justin Simien, was a development deal. Okay? Probably about what you saw in the finale of Picard, The Last Generation. That's probably about as much as they've developed so far. But either one of those projects is going to have to let not only these things get out of the way first, but see what the future is. How big is the future pipeline, basically? Oh, Timothy, I don't think Star Trek has become a joke. Have you seen? There's a lot of different tones there. I think you're. I'm not reading you. And the end. Family Guy and Mork and Mindy and Simpsons Trek. I think you're exaggerating just a little bit there. Did you enjoy Lower Decks? I mean, Section 31 has that comedy around the edges, kind of sarcastic comedy that out of the human moment, the black comedy, grim humor. But it's not a comedy. And Strange New has comedy in its tones. I don't think Academy is going to be a ha-ha yuck-yucks thing. So, well, this would be interesting. I like that, Sean. A guy tweeted the other day that he finally watched Prodigy and couldn't understand why it was canceled. I pointed out the irony. Yes, I think the key word there is finally watched. Yeah. Oh, I should have just let Christoph tell you. Is he here? I think we're more than 11 and a half. Maybe we're 12 seasons. Well, I'll tell you this, Hoodie Plays. Listen or watch the Who Trek panel from Saturday night before you say much more. I feel like I've never had to sit down with Alex. I plan to at some point. But I feel like I got to know him more from that Who Trek panel. Just the two of them up there talking back and forth. There you go. Oh, hi. Nostalgic. Hi from Atlanta. Hi back, and glad you made it by today. I wonder what it was. I'm saying what I said earlier, Timothy, that if someone else mentioned this, right now, I think I would follow Tawny Newsome off a cliff. And not that's what I think. I mean, I've just been very impressed with not only what she's done, but how she's carried herself and how she's. I saw her under the clutch live and pull out something she had no business doing that wasn't even her job to do. The Star Trek Day live show 2 years ago. Oh, you're happy that I was there. Gotcha. Oh, Chuck, thank you so much, man. All right. Great. We will be calling it out then. You just get well, man. I've had some people, there was some con crud coming out of people are testing negative for COVID. It's just good old fashioned con crud. I came out pretty well with my voice intact. No other symptoms even. Just that. Yeah, the Star Trek episodes on Future Rant. Well, the one famous, come on, boom. Yes, the Heads in the Jars Church of Star Trek was one. Thank you. Well, that was the point about trying to grow things coming out of the pandemic. It took a while, but yeah. Oh, nostalgia. You have this Star Trek. I have about 10 more of these. I got sent a whole batch as promotional mailers, and I've still got them all. Badgie. What do you see, Badgie? Do I have a Badgie? There we go. Hall H had 6,100 Trek. There you go. That is bigger than the main hall at Trek Vegas. Is there a Tribble in the background? Yes. This is still got its. This is one of the promotional Tribbles with the tag attached for the 30th anniversary. These were made up and put around LA and some other urban centers around the country. But in LA, they were in train stations, bus stations, at the airport. They put these out to promote Trials and Tribulations that week. See, 30 years ago, 1,771,561 of these friendly Tribbles took over the Starship Enterprise. Don't miss this special new episode of Star Trek DS9. Check your local listings for the time and channel. Syndication, everybody. Syndication. See? The week of November 4th to 10th. That's how TNG and DS9 were promoted, the week of. The other Tribble here was a motorized Tribble from Tribulations that Gary Monak gave me. It was just like the way John Dwyer had done them and Jim Rugg did them in the 60s. They took a plushy motorized walking animal and put a Tribble shower cap over it and wired it shut. And the batteries have long since died. I don't have the heart to cut the cord and put new batteries in and let it run. I've kept it intact. So yes, there's 2 Tribbles back. They behave themselves and not talk to each other. This is usually up there with Kate, but there you go. I'll leave it there for now. Been a lot of upheaval here at the set the last few weeks. Oh, Christoph, that's annoying. Can't sleep with the wristbands. MacGyvering them off overnight. Okie dokie. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you seconding, Christian, that Melanie said? I'm missing. She said Badgie and you seconded it, but I'm not catching. Okay. Did I say Badgie? Did Badgie come up somehow? Hey, Jay-Z. Are you on the kitchen with oh, that's GZ, sorry. Section 31 looked great. They clearly are going for a broader audience with it, and some of those trailer elements are my favorite, but it looks like a good Bond Guardians of the Galaxy mix. That's the idea. Remember, guys, They're trying to grow the franchise, which was part of the topic of our panel on Sunday. How do you serve the fan base, but also grow new eyeballs and trap them? We had something else I wish I'd said earlier. If you've ever been to one of my panels, I'll do live action, show of hands. What brought you into Star Trek? What was your first show that made you a fan? And then even if we have time, do a second run and say, what is your favorite show now? It's not always the same. Like DS9 is a favorite now, way more than it was back in the day. But I will say, I took a moment to say, and this has happened before, how many in the audience? And it was clearly a next generation heavy crew, right? And the Berman era was 3/4 of the room, and then all the modern shows had smatterings. But that was about being favorites and made you a fan. We did the poll of how many are podcast listeners, and it was only about 10%, 15%, which I know is a shock to my podcasting mates on the dais sometimes, but that's been kind of true to form. See, you guys are intense. So you're watching me live stream. But that crowd, it was only about 15% podcasters. What was amazing, though, was I said, how many of you have ever seen Lower Decks? Slightly less than half the room. And the folks who had seen Lower Decks were gasping. Like, it was a gasp. I said, how many of you have never seen Prodigy? About half the room or more. Another gasp. How many of you have never seen Picard? A gasp. And basically, I think at one point we said, how many of you have not watched any Star Trek since Discovery forward? And that was half the room, and the biggest gasp of all. And I'm like, this is armchair fandom. Come to Comic-Con. They got up out of the armchairs to come to their locals. Anyway, it was a great shock to the system to see how many fans in that room had never watched any of the post-2017 Treks. Of all the different flavors and buffet that there is out there. It was amazing. The Section 31 movie is not what we knew before. Yes, you have right. Section 31 was really early there in the Star Trek universe. Not sure I'm always getting your translation good, Hoodie, but there you go. Hey, Carl. Always good to see you, man. Do I think the Trek Who game will lead to more crossovers? Well, if it sells crazy, I mean, remember the old Star Trek tech manual that we all fondly remember that was never on screen, but affected the ways of thinking for so many people. The lasting impact of the tech manual may have nothing to do with what ships do and don't look like. It may have to be the fact that it was number one on the New York Times bestseller list for like 12 or 14 weeks. Out of the blue, it was Star Trek, and it was this wacky black and white graphics thing that had no color, no photos, no interviewing. And yet it was this huge seller for the coolness of a thing, which was a totally new paradigm to people. And it sold. It made a blip on the commercial radar. And that's the kind of thing that changes paradigm. That's the kind of thing that turns battleships. And if it's a huge seller in this one particular vein, enough to get on the mainstream radar, who knows? That would be a great first step. That would be one of the pieces of a puzzle. That's moolah. Hey, JR, did I mention the Trek West Wing today? I said that the other day in the room on the Sunday panel. My idea was Troy seeing all these. Okay, I've forgotten exactly what your pitches were, but there we go. JC, you're getting vicious. Trekkies always seem confused, like Prodigy, when a regular starship and uniforms are not on screen. Get smarter, Trekkies. It's a big universe, Mr. Scott. Quite shocked they included Georgiou's background in it. They do need to address it. You talking about as a murdering empress from the mirror universe? I think they will. Well, I think, look, Tim, I think lots of people would love to do this tomorrow. There's just stuff, there's contracts, there's commitments, there's things in the way already. And part of the mystery is the streaming pipeline going to be this big for 2 or 3 shows at a time, or this big for 4 or 5? I mean, that's one of the things that's holding up. What does the industry look like, and what does Paramount look like? And I'm sorry, but it's the same thing with the live action 4th movie. It's just that more people are focused on legacy than another Kelvin movie or a whole new origin movie, that I hope doesn't botch the Romulan War and the founding of the Federation. Hey, Chuck Soleil. Did I get that? Soleil? Since Vegas is not a licensed con anymore, there's nobody going to announce any big headlines at Vegas. Unless it's maybe a licensee or an individual actor just says, hey, I'm going to be doing blah, 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 and probably not a Trek project. Other than that, you're not going to see. The days of that happening are gone unless something is licensed. There's no Reed Pop has walked away from its license. The only licensed event now from the studio is the cruise. I should have called him Cupcake. That's me not paying attention to the Kelvins. Yeah, we didn't have wristbands. Now, some of the parties I had to cut off one. I went 2 days one time because it was a really tough gold wristband to an evening party, and I had no scissors. I never had scissors handy. Well, this is what I say. Never say never. Picard did really well in the Nielsen's and in the Parrot rankings too, Jay-Z. I don't think anyone doubts the fervor and energy behind that. And you would have the mix of young and old and all of that. People love Jerry Ryan. And you never knew when a next gen person would pop in. You'd think Beverly would be around with Jack, maybe, but any of the rest of them could be a guest star one week and come visit, if that makes sense. So it's just a matter of, everybody else got out of the way for Strange New and Anson Mount's Pike. But as we said at the panel, the world of 2024 is not the 23-24 is not the same as 2019 in the business and in the Trek world right now. They were desperate for ideas back then. And everything was throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Here's more money. Blam. And that is not the world we live in now. There you go, Melanie. The trailer with the 4.5 Vulcans is fascinating. I didn't see that. I mean, it was okay. It's a reversal Vulcan thing. The bit of how it impacted Spock or affected Spock, I didn't see coming. And I was like, oh, that'll be interesting. Something different to play with. I'm way behind on the comments. Sorry. That's the nature of the beast when it's a not guest show. Nostalgic, but I'm glad you're here and figuring that out. They're rebuilding California and Toronto's largest studio. Right. It's a whole new paradigm of how they're going to do the set, and that how they want to do the show is affecting the way they're building the sets. Sorry, guys, I need some lubrication here. The title card for Michelle, Academy Award winner. Is she our first winner to lead a show? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Or a movie. Stellar actors in Trek. Yeah, well, Sir Patrick should have had something years ago. Even Emmys. And Brent. You only have one I Love Lucy on regular TV with subtitles? Well, you Germans sometimes can be a little unfunny. Humor, it is a difficult concept. There you go, Eugene Bradford. Okay, Melanie, you go back there. Yes, and he was My Little Ponies. Yep. Well, Timothy, you need to get up off your butt and come down and pitch this show. And you too could stand in line with your offer. Looks good. The death of Captain Liam Shaw is like an open wound. Oh, are you saying that the Hilton Birmingham would have been right at home in San Diego? Is that what you're saying, Christoph? Okay, I need to pin her down on this. She probably said that way back at the beginning. I'll get the details. Oh, there you go. Her granddad was in Band of Brothers. Okay. There we go. Nostalgia, that is awesome. A lot of Space 1999 fans I know, and fans of the Eagles and all of that. I mean, the craft, not the band. Although lots of people were fans of the band too. Yeah, a lot of Living Witness love here. Said Vance was a good guy. I should have said he was a dadmiral as opposed to a badmiral. That was groundbreaking right there in Trek. The Star Trek Files magazine by John Peel. Yep. Yep. Yes, and yes, it does. Yes, a lot of edgy. Plus, Tig brings an audience along, right? The comedy hour, streaming HBO, Netflix, comedy type audience. They could put the Doctor as a hologram in a an android shell body. So, Timothy, here's one thing, and I know you'll probably, want to punch me for this, but Kurtzman did an interview where he said they're going to explain detachable nacelle. They're going to tie down some of the wacky doodle 32nd century gee whiz technology they had to invent just to make the time jump look different, programmable matter and all. They're actually going to try to tie that all down in Academy and make it make sense. So I'm all for that. The loosey goosey, ooh, isn't it cool background is not what Trek is about. It's on Earth. That's the Trek show you've always wanted. Well, not Academy focused. I wanted government focused. Well, this stuff was all in motion way before the Skydance. This stuff has been in motion for months. So they're all just waiting to see what the limits are and who's running what. Yes, exactly. Everybody can be a holographic file. My thumbs up make a thumbs up bubble appear on screen. Oh, is that what's doing that? Okay. Yep. I guess we're gonna see. And Hoodie, that's fine. You're not alone. You're not alone. I'm just saying that it was really. I had some quotes from him. I want to hopefully get, if I have nothing to do after I get off today. I don't. I have tons of things to do for Vegas. Would I say Alex make an interview? I believe he would not do this. Eventually, I talked to him a little bit at the strike day when we were all on the sidewalk. I said, we're going to sit down. He goes, oh, yes, we will at some point. I'm just not wrapped up in the promo of it all. Okay, Christoph, then we are in season 12. It's all blending together for me. Oh, I am behind. Okay. Not Majel. Exactly. You were at one weekend on Earth, or OWO, as I so derisively used to call it. The one convention that the old school, like the pre-divorce licensing department, thought they could arrogantly run, and then they realized it was a lot more work than they thought. You were at Huntsville when StarTrek.com was so brand new. We were teaming with IBM and live streamed panels in 1996. Yeah. I felt like we were carrying the transatlantic cable. Well, like I said, Melanie, I think the batteries on the one ran down a long time ago. Rose, how are you? Good to see you. We got such a late start today, but the double media shower. Oh, okay. I haven't mentioned the Olympics once yet. Hey, there's the whoops. Where'd that go? Starts. There's a man. Hey, Mike. It was great to see you, even for a second at Comic-Con. Are you Vegas bound? Not sure, but everybody. Hey, mission log. Orville, everybody. Mike's great. Follow all his stuff. And of course, mission log Orville. Hey, Galinda. Good to see you over here, too. Yay. Are the panels online? I think not as video, and I know at least one of them was taped. Hopefully, both of them. Letting John Champion handle that. One of them is under the Roddenberry banner, and one will be the Thursday, and the Sunday would be a Trekland panel. Yes, Hoodie, only 10 episodes instead of 26, which came up on our Sunday panel too. Seconded her for getting vicarious thrills. But hey, guys, it's so much better now than it was 15 years ago. There's so much more media there, and even the tweeting and now the live streaming and the videoing. It's so much more than it would have been 20 years ago at the last days of course, the original, like the Enterprise cast never got a Hall H moment, I used to say. Oh, Christoph, I hope it was your hotel Wi-Fi. Okay, we're all straight. Thank you all for straightening me out here. Okay. Interesting word choice, but okay. Oh, fans. I was like, Dans? Is that a slang word? People being big enough fans to go to cons but don't watch the show in decades. Like I said, half the room not involved gasped. Like, how have you existed not knowing Lower Decks? Or Picard season 3? Or. Okay, boy, the chat. Yes. Thank you. Several Leonard Nimoy people have been asking me to help support this and publicize it, and we'll just start right here, right now. So thank you, Melanie. Yes. There's people out circulating that petition for a Nimoy stamp. What time era is Prodigy? Prodigy is 2 years after Lower Decks. Let me think. Prodigy just ended Prodigy just ended at the same month, the same time as the synth attack on Mars. Going to 85? Is that it? Or 2385, I think. Okay, I Love Lucy with German subtitles. Okay, Hoodie. There you go. Thank you, Christoph. Prodigy has started in 2383. It's been those 2 years. It ends in April 2385, and you see a scene or two after the synth attack on Mars. Thank you for the deep cut here. Louise Sorrell was on Days. Yep. Yes. Aside from the fact of the Picard flashbacks, like the synth attack, and the reaction to the synth attack when Raffi and Picard have their park bench meetup. You know, the official magazine in Germany used to be the communicator that I edited, translated to German, that Dirk used to have. Well, they're using, you can say it's all according to Memory Alpha, but they're using the star dates in both series. Lower Decks and the two animated series are using the 1,000-unit star dates, so you can still ping their years based on the TNG Voyager DS9 era. And they're right in there, boy howdy. They are slotted right in there. Okay, this is a to-dump rim shot joke, but you have to do it with accents, Sean. You know, Hoodie, I'm a blender, you know. I am a texture, not trivia guy. So, see, texture, not trivia. Boom. I don't go looking at it. If it's on camera, it's got to be resolved, or else we devolve into chaos. So, poor Christoph is still wiped out. I will see you there, sir. Absolutely, myself included, tomorrow. Tomorrow, hitting the road earlier. What's my favorite episodes? Either Far Beyond the Stars or Pale Moonlight. Oh my gosh, Sean. I have my old school original series favorites, but I have and then kind of TNG, but they're all obvious things. Don't make me think. Don't make me think right now. Save this for when we've had a chance to rest, okay? Original series, it was Journey to Babel and Doomsday Machine. Thank you, Rose. I hope the transporters and shuttles are all in working order too. Thank you. Hey, Liebchen. I understand, but you've got your conventions over there. I'm the same way coming over to Europe. When you follow them on Twitter, meet up and have pictures together. Yeah, that makes the world a little smaller, at least cozier anyway. Well, Nemesis was in real time. The first 3 TNG movies were, I have to do this, 64, 65, 66, and 78, 69, 70, 71, 73, 75, and then 78 or 79 for Nemesis. Okay, it's a deal. It's a deal, hoodie. Mm. Wait, what? No, Mike. No, I cannot. I have to go back and look at them. I have not watched. I have not watched Space 1999 since I watched a few episodes and went, "Oh my god, the acting here is horrible. This is supposed to be the big filler for people waiting for Star Trek." Oh, it was so disappointing. But the Eagles were cool. The visual effects were cool. John, I'm so frightened, John. Yeah. Was his name John? Martin Landau's character, wasn't it John? John and Helena? Yeah. Yes. Let's see. Oh, no. That's the actual year. I was doing the Star Trek year. Sorry. I was counting 23, 64, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 64, 65, 66, 69, 70. Then 71 was Generations. And then 22, 70, 23, 73, 23, 75, yada, yada. Thankfully, mercifully, thank you, Christoph. And boom, Chatty Cathy's. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. I hope everybody is headed home safely. I hope otherwise that you're headed to Vegas safely, wherever your travel is taking you, everybody. Thanks for joining in today. Looking for the cards. Once again, I want to thank all of our Patreons. Thank you, Chuck, for jumping in. So I'll have 2 new names for next month then to add to this. Thank you so much for doing that. Again, it's very easy to get on my Patreon. You can still do it. It's patreon.com/TreklandLive, a very simple $5 and $10 level. If you want to do more, you can certainly do more. I won't stand in your way. I won't beam out. But if you are thinking about, as the summer goes on, the fall gets here, coming to LA, think about a Trekland Trek with me. You can check it at my site or go direct to treklandtreks.com. It's a day tour. You pick out the 4 sites you want to hit with my help. I'll guide you, concierge you, do all your wrangling, pick you up, drop you off. It's a 6-hour sojourn to real life Star Trek film sites around LA, Greater SoCal. Check it out. That would be lovely dovely. Again, Trek Files is out today with a new guest, Dr. You need to hear him. We have a lot of fun. Dr. Barrett, and we talked. Sorry, I went to the Bermuda there for a minute, but the Bahamas for a second. Old Letterman folks will love that. I had a blast talking today. We'll have to have him back on again. Check it out. It's there every week, the Trek Files, now at thetrekfiles.com, the new home on Memory Alpha, where you can access the whole show. The run of the show is easy to find. The topics, the guests, and especially the documents, much less the player, the deep links. It's all there. But you know what? Our Facebook page is still there, and we're still anywhere you get a podcast. It just doesn't have the document and all the cool stuff with it as well. Here I am on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Do all the things. Please like and subscribe us on YouTube. We're still growing the channel numbers, and the numbers are appreciated. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here with us. Being patient today was awesome. Again, as you travel, wherever you go, take precautions. There's weird little waves out there, and even if they're not fatal, they can mess you up and just, ruin your situation. And you don't want to bring croup and crap like that. Uber con crud needs to be kept in its place. So stay healthy. Do all the things. Stay woke. Check your sources. And trek well, everybody. We'll see you next week. Hi. Join us sooner next time.